Right, well, he's convinced that we'll be all right for sound here, and that you'll hear us above the noise of this raging torrent here at Hob Hole. This is Andrew, our director, talking about here, but I'm not convinced. If any of that dialogue comes out, I will show my backside in Bin's window. So this is Hob Hole.
Yeah, Hob Hole. That way we've got Westerdale, and then this way we've got Kildale.
Yeah.
It's a really ancient road, and there's a legend here about the giant's Lapstone. We're just coming up to some large boulders that have some strange markings on them. The Lapstone itself is no longer here.
Okay.
It fell down into the Beck there and diverted the Beck and caused havoc downstream, so they came and they dynamited it away. But the stone itself was supposed to be a large stone with an indentation on it which was the shape of a foot.
So when was it actually destroyed? You said it was actually dynamited. It was blown up.
Yeah.
Which suggests it wasn't that. We're not going into the realms of ancient history here.
But I think we're probably looking at the 18th, 17th, 18th century.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
You know, black powder was in use then.
Uh-huh.
Part of it was taken to Castleton and used as a mounting block for horses.
Right.
Apparently they preserved the bit that had the foot shaped mark in it.
Yeah.
And this was apparently it was about 2 feet deep.
Yeah.
So that was taken off to Castleton, used as a mounting block, and then it was broken up by road menders,
Okay.
as a lot of stones have been in the past. Because you didn't have the council then, so each little community had a responsibility to maintain its own bit of roads.
Yeah.
And you could be fined, and you could be fined quite a lot if you didn't maintain the highway. So they would use any stone that was available. And an old mounting block with a bit of a story attached to it probably had very little value.
Yeah.
So they just smashed it up and filled in all the holes in the roads to avoid being fined.
So the footprint,
Yes.
I mean, how would that have got there? I assume not an actual footprint.
No, it'll have been a natural mark.
Yeah.
But somebody noticed it, and then a tradition grew up around it. So the folklore attached to the stone is that there was a giant who lived over on Stony Rig, which is just at the back of Westerdale there. And he was a very benevolent giant. Harmed nobody, loved nature. And he was a cordwainer by trade. Now a cordwainer is a guy who makes shoes. A cobbler is somebody who repairs shoes. If you're a cordwainer, that's an important distinction. But he used to make shoes up there, and he had this huge lapstone, something like this, which would sit on his lap, and he'd make his shoes, happy as Larry. And he lived in this cave with his daughter. But his daughter was very rarely there because she didn't particularly like the cave. She wanted something a bit grander. So she used to flit about the sky in a chariot that was shaped like a boot, pulled by 13 swans. Now she'd go around doing good deeds for people. She couldn't use her powers to help herself, so she couldn't turn her dad's cave into a palace or anything like that. So she spent most of the time out of the house, away doing things. So the giant was quite happy, his daughter was quite happy, and then a wicked baron moved into the district. Now this wicked baron was a very handsome man, he had a silver tongue, but he was a wicked man, and he ravaged the district. So when you read the story that was recorded by Richard Blakeborough, who was a fantastic collector of folklore, when he talks about the baron, there's a lot of references to the women of the area being ravished, He talks a lot about plucking lilies. But anyway, this wicked baron rides through the countryside. He corrupts all the young people, he corrupts all the women. People are frightened, so they go to the giant. And the giant's kind of easy-ozy, you know, he listens to them, but he just gets on with his own thing. And then one day it gets so bad, a large number of people turn up at his door and says, look, we really need your help. So he sits down and he listens to their stories, and he's that disturbed by what's going on. He casts his lapstone down to the ground, which is felt throughout the whole district, and decides to call in the help of his daughter, who seems to have all the magical powers in the story. So to summon his daughter, he hangs the lapstone up on the cave and he beats it with an iron bar. And again, this is heard right across the district. And then all of a sudden, out of the sky, his daughter appears on a boot-shaped chariot pulled by the 13 swans. His daughter comes down and she's a little bit annoyed with her dad. And, you know, what do you call me here for? I was kind of busy. And her dad tells her the tale. And the daughter is absolutely furious about what's going on. So the daughter takes her dad's lapstone and she mixes up some magic powders, throws them at the stone, and a huge cloud emerges around the stone. She takes the iron bar that her dad had and then she dabbles with the stone, which moves almost like plasticine. She then takes another hand of powders, throws them on the stone, and it's back to being a stone again. But in the middle of the stone is this foot-shaped indentation about 2 foot deep. She then turns to all the men who've come there for refuge and says, all you fellas, it's your own fault. You were led into temptation and you followed it. So I can't help you. You're gonna have to live with that. Then she turns to the women and she says to the women, I'm gonna test you all using my stone here. So what she does is she gets the women to put their foot into the indentation in the stone. She doesn't tell them what it's about, but after each one's done it, she sets them to that side or to that side. So she tests all the women, and then when the test's complete, she turns around to the first group of women and she says, I've tested you and you willingly participated in all this. So shame's going to be on your head for the rest of your lives. She turns to the second group of women and she said, you have no shame. You've passed the test. What's been done to you is not your fault. And any children that result of what's been done to you will crown your head with joy. So she uses this sort of florid language. And then she said, I'm going to avenge you all. So she grabs the lapstone, hikes it into the back of her chariot and takes off. And she almost disappears into the sky, but they can still see her. Then all of a sudden, the chariot drops down and you see the lapstone fall to earth with a great crash that is heard again throughout the district. And then she disappears. She leaves the story. So the next bit of the story is the villagers now are returning home from the giant, and they meet a young maid. And this young maid's really, really upset. She's frantic. She's coming up the hill. And they say, what's wrong with you? And she said, well, I was walking down through Baysdale and the Baron came after me. She said, so I just ran and ran and ran. And I ran down to Hob Hole. And I thought, if I cross the water, he won't catch me. So she gets down, but she ends up tumbling down the bank. And just before the Baron comes on her, there's this huge crash of thunder and the woman falls unconscious. When she wakes up, the Baron's not there. There's just a great big stone. So the giantess had dropped the stone, which landed on the Baron. End of story.
You're going to chuck one of your favourite words in here, aren't you?
I am, Bob, yeah.
Good.
It's palimpsest.
It is. It's a cracking word.
It is. It's a word I like a lot. And what it means is multiple layers. And some of the layers beneath the top one are sort of barely visible. You can pick out little things, but you can't really see the whole thing.
So does this apply to story in this case?
I think it applies to the whole place.
Okay.
We've got a site here called Hob Hole.
Yeah.
We haven't got any hobs in the folklore.
But hobs are an actual thing. They're kind of little hairy men that are purported to live on the moors.
They are, yeah. And there are plenty of them.
But not here.
But yeah, generally when you've got a place that's named for something,
Yeah.
the folklore will make some reference to that.
Yeah.
Whereas here, we haven't got a hob in the story.
Yeah.
But what we may have is a troll. Now, in the UK, we see trolls as little fellas who live under bridges and things like that. But because a lot of the folklore here may have been influenced by the Scandinavians who came to inhabit this area, Hob may actually be a troll. And in Scandinavian folklore, trolls are giants.
Right.
So we do have a giant, perhaps. But the boot-shaped chariot and the 13 swans, I mean, in folklore in Ireland, swans are seen as one of those birds that can travel between different worlds, the underworld.
Okay.
But it's all a bit woolly. But there's another element to this story, and that is what happens after the folklore. Because this stone with the foot-shaped indentation actually existed. It's recorded. Yeah, so for generations, women would come here. In fact, I've got the book here.
I can see it.
I'll read it from the
I'm a
book.
bit concerned you've put it in some sheep poo there.
Newly married women would come and visit the stone, but there were certain things they had to do, a certain ritual, which I'll refer to the book here. It says they must visit on a Monday and they must bring with them a shoemaker's hammer and a shoe for the left foot. Now this shoe can't be a tatty old shoe, it has to be the best shoe you can get.
Yeah.
And then on arrival, they have to sit themselves on the stone and repeat a rhyme.
Right, do you know, I'm going to do this.
You're not, are you?
Is this going to increase my fertility?
If you're a woman, yes. I'm not sure what it does for blokes.
Well, let's find out, eh? Left shoe.
Left shoe.
Of the finest possible quality.
Of the finest possible quality.
That's what we're looking at
And we'll
here.
pretend you have a cobbler's hammer. And we'll pretend that it's a Monday. And we'll pretend that you're newly married.
Okay, yeah.
So we've got all the conditions in
there's,
place.
there's a fair amount of suspension of disbelief here.
Well,
but I'm prepared to go with it.
Yeah, right-o. So, this rhyme actually goes on for yonks. and Blakeborough got it from a fella called William Scorer who lived at Baysdale.
Yeah.
And little bits are missing, but I'll give you some of it.
Right, so do I hit me boot on the rock as you're doing this? You can just say yes and nobody will be any the wiser.
Yeah, of course you do.
All right.
So, here's the rhyme. Cobbler, cobbler, look on me. I come to crave thy blessing. I beat thy leather for thee. 9 nails to bind the heel I take. A wild boar's bristle long and strong. To thy wax end I fix it. To 9 long strands well rolled. I wax them well with drawn wax. I wax it well for thee. I welt the welt, I beat the welt. As on thy last, I beat the welt. And it goes on and on and on.
Well, yeah, I feel positively fecund already.
Brilliant.
But do you know what the extraordinary thing is? Like, you've been sat here reading that, and we've been talking about women coming here, like taking their shoes off and beating them against the rock.
Yeah.
Okay? I promise you, I have not set this up, but, and I'm going to do this very gingerly, somebody's left a sock.
I would put that down and wash your hands if I were you. Oh man, is there another sock?
Not that I can see.
Oh, okay.